So the longer you do YouTube for, the more you realise that you don't know what to do.
Don't start that.
Mate, this is my life. This is what happens. So the more you do YouTube, the more you realise how often you need to post videos and how quickly you need to edit stuff to get it out on a regular basis. So anything to help make that process easier, quicker and more enjoyable is a godsend, really, especially when it comes to cameras. And I think I might have found the perfect camera for YouTube. So Hire a Camera have kindly sent me the Sony A7C camera, and the reason why I wanted this is because I wanted to see what it was like for vlogging, because apparently it's got better autofocus than the A7 III had, which used to frustrate me when I had that camera. It's also got the flip out screen, it's a smaller body, so better for vlogging, because this, I mean, just holding that up a minute ago, my arm was killing me. So here it is, we're gonna have a look. Tell you what, Hire a Camera are so good. I've spoken about them before on the channel a number of times. If you need to hire anything and you're based in the UK, I can't recommend them enough because they're just so friendly, so good to work with. So thank you again so much to the team at Hire a Camera for sending me this. Another thing they do is include these little Haribo packets as well. And it's little things like that that make you want to keep going back to those companies. If they could put a pizza inside, that'd be even better. I'd hire from them every day. Let's have a look at this. It's tiny. It's tiny. Look at that. Great size for vlogging, that is. Woo! So the lens I've gone for, because I'm going to be mainly using it for vlogging and I want like a versatile range, gone for the Sony 16-35 G Master lens. This would be great for vlogging. It's really good weight actually, nice and lightweight. Look at that, tiny little thing, and the weight is so much better for vlogging. It's going to be so much easier. I thought it was going to be a lot heavier, but it's not. Right, so now I'm going to switch from the Canon EOS R6 to the A7C. Right, so now I'm on the Sony camera. Canon R6, Sony A7C. Looks quite good on the camera monitor screen so far, but we'll see what it looks like on the computer in a bit. I've had this for a few days now, and I have to say, it's the most fun I've had with a camera. Not ever. I think because of the size and the weight, I actually really look forward to using it. When I see it sat there, I just want to pick it up and start filming. And there's something to be said about that, because when a camera's too heavy, like I tried the Panasonic S1H, and great camera, but I didn't want to pick it up because it's so chunky and heavy, and I didn't like the menu system. It put me off using it. Whereas when you look at a camera and it inspires you to pick it up, that is a good sign. The autofocus is a huge step up from the A7 III. This is how you'd want autofocus to work. Like the Canon's got the best autofocus, it's amazing. This is definitely close behind because no problems with this whatsoever. It's a little bit more complex. I like the way Canon's autofocus menu system is laid out. Super easy to choose which mode you want. I'm sure with a bit more time I'd get used to it. Right, so I've now set up the autofocus for the face. So wherever I go now, it's tracking me. So that's great. Loads better than the A7 III that I used to have. But we all know that already. Right, next thing's next. Next thing's next. Although it's 8-bit 420, I was really surprised at how good the footage actually looks. You can colour grade it really well. Not as good as 10-bit obviously, but I'm really surprised. It's more than good enough for YouTube stuff. People have only really been using 4K 10-bit for YouTube in the past year or so. So if you don't want to go overboard and spend loads of money on a camera, then this is the one for you because it still looks amazing. I used S-Log2 and I think it's the ITU 709 Matrix thingy-majig, whatever it is, that's what I used. And it's a good starting point for colour grading. And it's super easy. You could literally just add a little bit of contrast, a few tweaks here and there, and then boost the saturation a little bit, but then the skin tones start to go a bit strange, so you don't want to go overboard on that. So a few changes with the curves in the grass and the skin tones, and you've got great colour, and all you have to do is save that as a preset and apply it, and then you don't have to think about it again. So you set your picture profile up that you prefer in the camera, stick your preset on, and you're away, and you're going to get the same colours every time. The dynamic range isn't fantastic, but there's still a lot of detail in the shadows, which is really good. Honestly, I'm impressed. You can probably tell by the face, but I love it. And then obviously this is a perfect test as well while you're out vlogging and walking around. The image stabilization needs to be good, so this is an interesting test, see what this is like. Hopefully it's a lot better. Apparently it's meant to be, so we'll see what that looks like when it gets home, when I get home, when this gets home, when we get home.
We're going home.
We're going. I'm going. I need to go to bed. It's got S&Q mode, which is slow and quick. 1080, but it's good. It's clear. It's smooth. It looks good. It's not. It doesn't look as good and as crisp as the 4K 24, 25 frames a second, but it's still got it in this camera, and the colours still look great. When you're spending this amount of money on a camera, to expect 4K 120 is a bit overboard, if I'm honest. But to have 120 frames at 1080, I think we're lucky at that, to be fair. What I really miss about having a Sony is the battery life. I remember filming weddings all day and only using one battery. I might, at the very, if it's been a really long day, I might have to switch at the very end, but the battery life on the Sony is incredible. It's something that you just never have to worry about, or worry about very little. Whereas the Canons, you're gonna have to bring 2 or 3 spare ones with you. The file sizes aren't insanely huge, so you don't have to create proxies. Makes your editing nice and smooth, even in Premiere on a Mac. I know, it's a godsend really. And I've not been struggling with it, whereas the R6, I struggle with the footage every time. This is a breeze. But you can also set it to record proxies straight from the camera. That speeds your editing up even more because you don't have to create proxies before you start working. Just attach them afterwards and you're good to go. Great feature, I love that. An extra time saver, which is always welcome. I just love it. I don't want to give this back. Hire a camera, I'm keeping this one, I'm sorry. Love how you've got 3 custom modes on there. Absolutely love that feature because you can have a slow motion setup on one, 4K on another, and something else on another. Essentially you can have 4 because you can put the manual one on and have that set to however you like, and then you've got the other 3 open. So it's just a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to take this out. Look, even with that microphone on, it's still a tiny setup, but you could get, but look at that. Look how small it is. It's tiny. And you could get just one of the smaller Rode microphones on top and condense it even more. The only downside to that is the screen is quite small, so especially when you're outside and you need that extra visibility, that flip out screen is very small. But, you know, that's the price you pay. If you're going to be doing proper stuff, then you'll have an external monitor anyway, or you're going to be using a different camera, to be fair. So if you're just vlogging and you want to make sure you're in focus and you're exposed properly, it's fine. But to help, it does have zebras, so if you can't quite see the monitor properly, you can always rely on the exposure monitoring options within this. The audio input jack is out of the way of the flip out screen, which is great. Same as on the R6 and the R5. I love that little feature. You don't have to like pull the screen in to move it out of the way. There's 3 things that bothered me about this, and they're just personal gripes that I've got with it, not massive deal breakers whatsoever. Maybe you can do it somewhere, but I couldn't find how to change the frames per second. All you can do, so it seems, is put it in slow and quick mode and choose your frames per second that way. But it automatically created the slowed down version for you. You couldn't select the frames per second and actually play it back in real time, if that makes sense. That's one thing. It might be worth double checking, I'm sorry. I've always said this, I love the Canon menu system, super easy to navigate and find what you're looking for. Even if you've never used a camera before, you can intuitively look through those menus and figure out what it is that you need. whereas on the Sonys it's very in-depth. Obviously once you get used to any menu system, after using it for a while, it'll become second nature, and you can create your own menu in there with all the functions that you use the most. But then the main thing is the dials. I don't use this exposure dial, so it's a bit of a waste. I would prefer to have 3 dials, one for shutter speed, one for the aperture, and then one for the ISO. That would be nice. If you're a Sony A7S III shooter, for example, and you want a B cam, this is the way to go. I think this is the perfect camera for YouTube. It's great quality, great colours, great image, great features, flip out screen, great autofocus, good sound. I prefer the preamp in this over the Canon. It's nice and warm, it's loads better, really like it. And the size, it's the best thing. I love picking up this camera, it inspires me to go out and film, and that is a massive bonus with any camera. If you've ever had that feeling before about a camera, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't, maybe you need to try some different cameras and see if you find one that suits you like that. But I love this thing. Let me know what you think to this camera in the comments below. Have you tried it before? Thanks once again to Hire a Camera. I wouldn't be able to make these videos without you. Again, as always, loads to come. I'm playing catch up all the time because I've got so much to do. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.